Welcome friends. Vinodji, welcome.
Very good afternoon to our listeners and viewers. Today we are going to have a very important discussion.
Yeah, the name itself is world famous. Everybody has heard of the name, may not have read the novel.
Yes.
Lady Chatterley's Lover.
Rajesh ji, before we shall plunge into the heart of the discussion, I would like to say that there have been a few books in the world that have been as controversial as this novel, Lady Chatterley's Lover. It has been, in discussions, right, for last 1 century. So why this novel has been controversial? Why people would like to talk about this novel? Why people have the strong desire to read this novel, and why this novel was banned. So before discussing this novel, I want you to throw light on these historical developments that are related to this book.
Vinodji, I would call it is one of the universally banned books.
Is it so?
It was banned almost everywhere, wherever it was privately published by D.H. Lawrence in 1928.
Yes.
Then it was published in US in 1932, and a full version, unabridged version, was published well after that in 1960s, early 1960s. Right?
Now it is very interesting to understand that even in the United States, even in the European countries, UK, the novel was banned. Rather, we believe that these are the liberal societies, and it was just 100 years ago that D.H. Lawrence had written this novel. And friends, D.H. Lawrence is not an ordinary writer. He is one of the most celebrated novelists of all the times.
And it is his last novel. He passed away in 1930, basically before he saw the world acclaim to which his novel rose afterwards. But he could just combat the universal ban, I should say.
And Rajesh, I have heard that many of his novels were banned here and there for some time, be it Woman in Love, be it Rainbow, be it Sons and Lovers. So what do you think that
basically, Vinodji, people are very surfacical, I should say. When you read literature or art, you have essentially to be broad-minded and deep-hearted.
Exactly.
I should say.
Exactly.
Isn't it?
Because literature is not expected to conform to the social codes or even ethical and the moral codes.
And in my personal opinion, literature always deals with what is not described or what is not prescribed. Always.
Exactly. In other words, what D.H. Lawrence is saying or somebody else is saying, which is banned, right? This does not mean that all those things are not taking place in the society. Only thing is that we are not aware of that. Only thing is that they are not published. Only thing is that we have banned them from the discussions, but they are not there. Simply we cannot believe like that.
Famously, as Saadat Hasan Manto said, he was also tried for various stories.
Many of his stories were also banned for the time being.
Yeah, and he famously said that if my stories come across as intolerable to you, that means the society itself is intolerable, not my stories.
Exactly. And here we can have a small discussion on this, contradiction. On the one hand, we believe that we are in the democratic society where the freedom of expression is there, where the liberalism trumps over all other narratives. At the same time, when something is published that does not conform to either our ethical and moral code or our political opinion, simply we try to ban that thought.
Yeah, definitely. And interestingly, the ban was challenged and abolished in UK and US. But interestingly, in India and Japan, even in India, the Supreme Court upheld the ban in 1962, saying that it is too prurient for our culture.
Exactly. Now our viewers are, curious enough to understand what this novel is talking about. Why this there are a lot of talk of ban. So this novel
basically the ban originated due to explicit four-lettered words, particularly in this novel. Because if you look at the plot or the story or the characters or the situation, there is nothing to be banned as such. There is nothing offensive as such.
The two characters, Sir Clifford and his wedded wife, Connie. Basically, this is the story of their story basically.
After the First World War, Clifford gets disabled from west down, and he involves himself in the life of mind, to quote Connie's words. He writes many stories, novels, and acclaimed as an author. He has coal industries also. He looks after them afterwards. So he's totally, naturally, he's not able to have sex.
Exactly.
Right.
Now here it is to be understood that Sir Clifford belongs to rich class, that is the aristocratic class. He's financially well off, he's well-known author, he has served in the army on rank, so he's a well-known. It's a kind of, he belongs to the high class.
Yeah, he's a gentleman.
He's a gentleman.
Yeah.
And they have been married for last few years, because Connie, when the novel starts, she is in her early 20s, I believe.
Yeah,
right?
before the war for 1 month. After
Yes.
the 1 month, he goes to the war and
Yes.
returns crippled.
Now it is to be understood that Connie takes care of him in every possible manner, right? She helps him out in his daily chores, and not only that, she also sits with him like a loving wife and discusses on the intellectual topics. She reads out aloud all the things to him. She enjoys life with him. It's not like that she does not like or love him. It's not, absolutely not like that.
No, but the deep down, she is dissatisfied,
Yes.
as would be any woman when the husband is totally incapable of having physical relationships. And
so-
she admits it very
Admits it.
clearly.
Right, she is longing for not only love, but she is longing for to have a child as well.
Yeah, sex as well as the child.
Because maternal instinct, it is said, in a woman is sometimes more powerful even the erotic desire.
Yeah, definitely. So on both these counts, she is deprived.
And to top it all, the Sir Clifford understands this state of mind of Connie. He says that you can have a child, right? That will not make any difference so far as this child will carry on my tradition, my name.
But then here he can't come out of his class mentality, child by somebody who is suitable enough, right?
Yes.
And then he just looks upon the child as the one. He is not caring of Connie's, desires.
Exactly.
For the physical intimacy as well as for the child. He just wants to have a heir for the estate.
And he approves that she can have a relationship with some man and begets a child. And that's all. He cannot understand the subterranean currents of the emotional attachment that Connie is likely to have in that relationship.
And that's what then actually happens. Connie falls in love with the gamekeeper named Melorus, and they carry on a very wonderful relationship. And in that relationship, Connie always looks for the child, to have the child.
And it is here that D.H. Lawrence has explicitly, I should say, described their sex life.
Definitely, the explicit description of the sexual act has not gone down well with the people.
Yes.
But here, I think the emphasis, at least on the Connie's part, is for the maternity. The scene where Vinodji, that hens,
Yes.
when she feeds the hens and she is in tears, for small chicks she feeds, and then Melorus also comes there and he appreciates what she wants. Earlier he was repelling her, right?
Because he had served in the army,
Yeah.
and his marriage had proven to be a disastrous one, and therefore he wanted to spend the time in isolation.
In isolation,
In a
yeah.
way, he had cut off himself from all the worldly activities, and in the initial stage of their relationship, he even does not pay much attention to Connie, and he's not really interested to carry on with her. But it is because of Connie's constant visits to the hut that he gradually is dragged into this relationship.
And the chick scene is the pivotal in that. Yeah.
And then to the credit of gamekeeper, we can say that he's a young man of 37, and naturally he also has erotic desires, and when Connie is readily available, he simply lets himself in.
And the credit goes to him also for this. He's firm. Once he decides that he is in a relationship, he sticks to it. He
Yes.
is not cowed down
Yes.
by the class or by Clifford's attitude when it becomes a public knowledge afterwards
Yes.
that they are into the relationship. But still, he sticks by her and he doesn't leave her.
And I believe that one of the reasons of imposing ban on this novel perhaps comes from the rigid class identity, the concept of rigid class identity that was quite prevalent in Europe at that time. The people who belonged to the aristocrat class, they considered themselves a class apart, and at any account they would not lower themselves by mingling with the people who came from the masses.
Yeah, like the race, like the caste, the class is also one of the dominant factors. Today, even though we are, sort of in the habit of denying
Yes.
all those discriminations, and in a way the sexual mores and the class structures they have relaxed, but still these are the living realities even today.
Perhaps the conservative people, those who must have read this novel, they must have banned it so that this kind of message shall not go into the society, that the lady from the aristocratic class shall have a relationship with a person who comes from the very ordinary class, from the class of tillers or the gamekeepers.
And then one of the predominant themes, as critics have also pointed out, is the unification of mind and body. What will you say on this, Vinodji?
Yes, I think if we look at the entire body of English literature, then we have to go back to the poetry of John Donne. Perhaps he's the first writer who draws our attention to this amalgamation of body and mind. He believes that the rounded relationship is not of the body alone, it cannot be the mind alone.
Yeah.
Both body and soul, body and mind must come together in order to form a good relationship. So perhaps that is what exactly D.H. Lawrence is trying to say.
Here Connie rails against the life of the mind only the life of mind which Clifford is affording her. She doesn't want to accept this. She is not happy with it.
Although she enjoys his company, although she enjoys reading of his stories as well.
Yeah.
But at the same time, she cannot be content just with the life of mind, as she puts it.
As her father puts it beautifully, she cannot be expected to remain half virgin for her entire life.
Exactly.
Right.
And in the physical desires also play a part in one's life. In order to be happy, you have to have intellectual pleasure. You have to have the erotic pleasures as well.
But then isn't it the case, Vinodji, that while despising only the life of mind, she is falling for only the life of body?
Perhaps it is running from one extreme and falling into the other extreme.
Because what the gamekeeper has to offer by way of life of mind,
Right.
by body of course he has.
Exactly.
The maternity also she achieves, right?
But when we compare him to Sir Clifford, he does not stand even far so far the intellectual achievements are concerned.
But two things are there. He indulges in philosophical ramblings.
Yes.
Many a times he draws generalizations. And the second thing is that his firmness, which we have already alluded to. Right?
Perhaps when we interpret Connie's behavior psychologically, because she has suffered a deprivation of the physical pleasure, and out of that, because of this deprivation, she simply attaches herself with this gamekeeper, because he is capable of giving her that pleasure that she has been denied so far.
And then, do you think, Vinodji, if today such a novel is published, will it be banned?
I don't think, because I believe that there are many novels where the writers describe all those things quite explicitly, quite in a straightforward manner, and frankly enough. So perhaps it was 100 years ago. The society must have been
maybe
different.
The advent of internet has changed everything.
Because nowadays ban or no ban doesn't make any difference.
So it's all casual nowadays. Nobody really takes the things seriously, right?
Yeah. And coming back to the development of the plot.
Yeah.
Now Connie, when she is already in relationship with gamekeeper, now she's trying to drift away from Sir Clifford, because there she's a ray of hope that she will be able to get married to this gamekeeper. And somehow one nurse by the name of Mrs. Bolton is brought in. Although Sir Clifford does not like initially, but gradually he gets adjusted to her, and then he is quite happy. This nurse is really a wonderful woman. She takes care of him in every possible manner, and she reads out him, types for him, even has conversation with him. So Connie gradually liberates herself from the drudgery of looking after Sir Clifford.
And then she goes to Venice not only to enjoy a vacation, but also to have a disguise for having a child.
To pretend that she is begotten a child by some man with whom she had an affair at Venice.
Yeah, and then here Clifford expects her to come back and give a legitimate heir. He is ready to accept the child, be it by anybody.
Yes.
Whereas Connie's plans, her desires are different. She wants to marry the person, that is the gamekeeper with whom rather she has conceived the child.
Even gamekeeper is ready to divorce his first wife because she has not been a really good woman. She has been very cruel to him, and he is really troubled by her. And he makes a plan to get divorce so that he can legitimately get married to Connie.
Dear Sir Clifford refuses to give a divorce, which they are actually hopeful, both Connie and gamekeeper, that by and by he will come round and give that divorce. And on this note, the novel ends. The letter from Melrose to Connie in September.
Yes.
On that note, that novel
he is
ends.
working on the field, and he says that I will continue to work for there for a few months till the child is born, and after that perhaps it is hinted that they are going to get married.
Yeah, I mean, in a way, this novel has been called very conservative, Vinodji.
Yes.
Just what they aim at is the regular marriage.
Yeah,
Isn't
and
it?
even Connie's attraction for gamekeeper is not for any other reason, just because she has been denied that sex life by because of the disability.
And she wants to have a
her
holistic
husband.
marriage where she can get the child, where she can get the sex, and get a normal sort of domestic
I think
life.
it's a normal desire. Any
Normal
woman
desire.
in Connie's place would have done the same.
So only the class conflict and 4-letter words. These are the things which militate against the acceptance of the novel.
And therefore, I, Rajesh, do not consider this novel to be a great masterpiece of literature. I don't think that if the novel is good enough to read.
Yeah, in between, Lawrence has really hinted at very good things. He has drawn generalizations.
Yes.
The initial sentence of the novel itself is a very cosmic one, very systemic one.
There are glimpses of greatness of Lawrence's genius,
Yeah.
but this novel itself cannot be said to be a masterpiece.
Initial sentence reads that our age is essentially tragic. The cataclysm has already happened. We are living in the ruins. Our age is so tragic that we refuse to accept it as tragic.
At another place, he says that many words have died. Love, delight, bliss, happiness, sorrow, all these words have died. I think this is something really great, because now words do not convey those connotations and motives which are essentially associated with the words. People hear the words, people utter the words without any emotional response. So this piece of writing, I think, makes it
resonates.
great.
And the horrors of mechanization,
Yes,
not
yes.
the concrete horrors, but the psychological horrors
Yes.
of mechanization. When Melrose, ruminates in the lonely wood, and he sees the electric lights from a distance, and he says it's not the blame of anybody, neither mine nor hers nor Mr. Sir Clifford's, but the blame is of the electricity, machines, because anything which doesn't conform is automatically rejected.
See, the happiness, bliss and harmony of life is destroyed because of this increasing mechanization, increasing the use of machines.
I would say now robotization. Nowadays.
Yeah, nowadays
Right?
robotization.
Robotization.
At least Lawrence was not aware of these terrible happenings that are taking place nowadays. Everything has become robotic.
Even our love has become robotic. All the emotions have become robotic.
And interestingly, at one place he says that we all are half corpses.
Yeah. So the actual act of intercourse, again and again he describes. I think Lawrence, considers it as one of the most vital actions of any human being.
Yes.
Isn't it?
Yes, but at the same time he also has satirized. He says perform. If you perform the sexual act, performance is something degrading. When you perform, that means it is deliberate. And therefore performance, he says, it really lowers this love in its grandeur.
And he has portrayed the sexual act in the traditional way, where a woman has to be submissive and a man has to be aggressive.
Yes.
He has not dwelt into the different dimensions of the sexual act.
I believe that Lawrence's other works, be it Rainbow or Sons and Lovers, they operate at the higher level when we compare these novels with this present one, Chatterley's Lover. Although this novel has been in the news not because of its literary level, I believe it has been in the discussions because of the ban that it attracted.
Yeah, I mean, yes. I mean, even I would agree to a great extent with this. Literary greatness is something different, which maybe he achieved in perhaps another novels. We shall definitely discuss those novels too.
Yes. So thank you very much, Rajeshji, for bringing this world famous book to the notice of our viewers and friends. We expect that you should speak out. You should give your comments so that we know where this channel is going.
Definitely. So thank you, Vinodji.
Thank you.